This is Dr. Chris's radio horror program here at 91.3 FM WCW in Worcester, Massachusetts. And Happy New Year to everybody listening to this in January. If you're listening to this on the YouTube channel later on, well, hopefully 2021 is fantastic for you. Tonight on the show, we have an amazing filmmaker, dancer, model, movie, TV aficionado, dog, chef, crafter, nerd, geek, lover of all sorts of things, a reporter kind of like me, basically. I don't know if she's on the radio, but she's a reporter of geek culture and awesome stuff, and she also has amazing purple hair. Kari Lane is on the show with us.
Hey, hello. I like how you read that because it, like, dog didn't really have a comma. It's dog lover for anybody listening. I have a dog, so my dog is my baby.
Yes, you're not a dog. Definitely not a dog. Sorry.
An insult, though, because that's like, the thing people are like, oh, they're such a dog. I'm like, but dogs are amazing, so why is this a negative thing? What? But
I think they want to say the other word we're not allowed to say on the radio.
But see, then that's just a female dog, and that's just an old way to say that. But,
One of the best episodes of The Simpsons, and I swear I cannot believe it's still on Disney Plus because they have censored stuff on Disney Plus, is when Bart says, "Man, Santa Little Helper is no longer any fun since his B word moved in." And Marge is like, "Bart, I never want to hear you using that word." But that's what she is. She's a female dog. She's a B word. I found it in the dictionary. And Marge's like, "Well, I'm gonna write the dictionary company." I couldn't believe that was still on Disney Plus. I was like, holy crap.
Because you're using it correctly, so then it's not a swear word? Sure. That's how they could, the legalities of how they could get away with it.
Right. It's just like, is there ever any swearing in Star Wars other than damn and hell?
It's the beauty of sci-fi. You can make up a swear word.
Like fracking.
Yep. I want to say it was Goram on Firefly.
Did they just use Chinese?
They did that too. Mm-hmm.
Or what did Loki call Black Widow? And everyone was like, oh, very clever. I think it was soy. Sow?
I do not know.
It's the English version of a C word.
Oh.
He calls her that.
Well, see, that's another one with swear words. Regionally, ones can be not that big of a deal. Like Australia, you can say the C word and it's no big deal whatsoever. But
right.
If you said that it'd be a big deal. So
right, and you can say fags in England because it means cigarettes, whereas here it's derogatory towards gay people.
Just like fanny pack works here and not in Australia.
What's a fanny pack in Australia?
It's like, well, fanny is like your butt, but I also think fanny pack is more like what area, where does your fanny pack sit, but more for ladies.
Oh, interesting.
I'd have to go look up very specifically what that is, but as I recall, like you wouldn't want to be like, yeah, it's a fanny pack. But anyway,
this is the craziest conversation. We haven't gotten into what you're about.
Everyone's on words. No, it's great.
It's fun with words.
Really
we're just Carrie. What we're doing is we're just plugging Netflix's upcoming Nicolas Cage TV show.
Well, if you write at all, words matter, and what words you use matter, and it's the same idea like subtitles and translation. How a word is used, what word is chosen, what works for switching it different regionally or another language. It matters, and so it matters. I'm like, no, it's a big deal. So it's really interesting if it's something you do and are aware of.
Definitely. Talk about Screen Junkies, because I think that's where I discovered you from.
I did it was actually super random. I want to say it was like probably an LA casting something. I'm not really 100% sure. But it was like fantasy football, and you had to be a nondescript character. But like literally fantasy football. All the people playing were weird characters. And so I was Rogue, but a closet cosplay of it, because it was one of those, no copyright stuff. And that was super fun, because then I think that's also, I don't know if that was the first time I met him, but it was one of the times I met Andre, Black Nerd.
Yep, Black Nerd Rant. Love that show.
So he was on it, and I think he had a Mario costume, and there is a photo of that either on something on my social media. I'm like, it does exist where we're posed together, and it's Rogue. Like I have a green shirt, a brown jacket rolled up, and I made gloves and dyed them yellow. Well, I didn't make the gloves, but I had white gloves and dyed them yellow by using a highlighter. Go figure. And put like a streak of white hair into a headband and wore it with my hair. And because at that time I had brown hair.
It's funny. I think everyone absurd Rogue's whole thing for last year. Be like Rogue, stay away from people.
Yeah.
And I was just like, because she's a fictional character, I don't give a crap whatsoever. But I think in the X-Men universe, I think that'd be that'd be borderline offensive. Or like some nitwit mutant on social media would be like, making like going, oh, I'm so offended on the island of Krakoa, I'm just gonna send Wolverine after you to kill you or something.
You're using her air quotes disability as an example of something, so maybe that's how it would be considered a bad thing.
Right, but again, she's a fictional character, so like, who cares? I know somebody who once got very offended by like when I play a video game, and I'm not doing this on chat with people. I'm usually try to be very respectful to other people on chat, so it's never anybody on chat. But there's something that's dumb that happens in a video game, or I get killed in a way, like the Friday the 13th game. You know what I mean? That was the last party game I played in a while. I don't play it anymore because, well, the server's shut down, so you really can't. I would constantly point at being a giant Friday the 13th nerd, and I mean like directors have come on my show, and Jason's have come on my show. I am probably the only person usually in those chats that knows everything about Friday the 13th. And I will point stuff out that it just infuriates me in the game or whatever, but I will be the biggest a-hole about it. But absolutely respectful to the other players, especially if at the same time I was like, oh, my kid is on here, can you watch your language? Or, but I will be a complete jackass to like Jason or something like that and making fun of him in the worst possible ways. But it's a fictional character, so like everyone usually laughs and nobody gets offended.
It's a roast.
It is a roast, and I will use every bad word and not sound like a screaming racist or something, but I will be a very bad person to whoever's being Jason. Or if somebody like does something dumb and they get killed, I'm just like, why did you do that? You should have come with me. See you on the respawn.
Yeah, you're like, bye.
So what are you currently working on right now? What is your current assignment in Geek World?
Well, I am doing a Sword Art Online discussion show, and because the newest season has come back, and Toonami, of the dub, because the sub one has been out for a while. So dub is on Toonami on Saturdays, but they took a couple weeks off, so now we're back again. It's been interesting because it's been like, it's back, it's gone, it's back.
No, yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah, I had been covering it earlier in the year at AfterBuzz, and then they've been on hiatus. So I was like, well, now that the second half of the season is back, how can we keep this going digitally? Which has been great because then, I haven't specifically asked all the voice actors, but it is one of those you could have anybody on from anywhere because, it's digital. You could be in whatever state, you could be in whatever country. I don't think anybody's been in a different country yet, but or different time zones, or you can have multiple people show up. You don't have to deal with traffic. So then that's been pretty cool. So I'll be doing that today in a couple hours. But it's been really cool to talk about the show with the voice actors involved and kind of just dive into it because it's by now the show has so much going on. If you watch Sword Art Online, you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, it's a show that don't read the description if you go to Netflix to go. Last time I checked, it's still on Netflix. Don't read the description because it kind of reveals a plot point that really sucks if you knew that going in, because it was super fun watching it and not knowing for myself when I first started it. And it's been going on for at least 6 years. It's a long running show.
Sword Art Online?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I've never seen it, and I'm only familiar with it because I was the store manager of a collector's toy store, and every time Sword Art crap came in, it sold. And I had a co-host. How I met her was she was this high school senior, very, bright-eyed, to the world of cosplay and conventions and stuff like that. Sword Art cosplayer in white and red with the blonde, long hair, whatever that character is.
Yeah, that's Asuna.
Yes. Who completely, fangirled out about me dressed up as Castiel. And that's actually how we started a supernatural creatures and lore podcast together, where we talk about the monsters, ghosts, and goblins that appeared on Supernatural and how they actually relate to their real life counterparts in the history of mankind since the beginning of the Big Bang.
Castiel cosplay at Comic-Con 1 year.
What was that?
I said I've done a Castiel cosplay for Comic-Con 1 year.
Ooh, are those pictures online?
Yes.
Oh, I'd love to see those pictures. Because the only cosplay picture of you I found was, were you dressed as Laura Croft?
I have, yes.
That is very cool.
I've done that a few times. So I was the super nerd that I went my first year going to E3 as press. I didn't realize people don't really dress up for E3.
No, because we have to be
So
all professional and crap.
I guess so, but I don't know. I just thought there'd be more people because I'm used to going to Anime Expo and Comic Con. I'm like, people cosplay, yeah, totally. And there was like nobody dressed up.
I know.
And so luckily everybody was a very recognizable character because I did the classic Lara Croft. And it was obviously well received in a good way. But it was one of those, like, once I got there going, oh.
You could easily pull it off and be like, oh, it's warm outside, so I wore shorts.
No, it's LA, so it totally works, yeah.
But let me take out, like, the Wonder Bra because these are just ridiculous and I have to walk around.
I have seen a picture online when I was looking up just kind of references of what other people did, and someone did the, like, pixelated coney boobs, and that was actually really funny. I was like, that's a fun, like, way to do, like, the fake whatever. But yes, it was a fun cosplay. And then I did a photo shoot with a friend at the abandoned zoo in LA, which is a really cool spot. So I was like, yes, I found the spot for this photo shoot. No, that definitely makes sense. And I'll be like, I don't mind saying I definitely wore a more padded bra for it too. But I'm like, but it's part of the look. But I mean, I could have probably gone more extreme because I've definitely seen it. Like, I've seen a tutorial on, like, how for cosplay you could adjust your boob look.
Right.
And I was like, well, I don't really want to go that because I want it to be realistic for what I am.
Right, right.
So, but I definitely had something padded, and it is one of those, end of the day, I mean, for all the ladies out there who taking the bra off, you're like, ah. But yeah, that was a fun cosplay for sure.
There was a great YouTube sketch, and I want to say it was on G4, or it might have been on Screw Attack. I'm not 100% certain, but it was like realistic depictions of video game characters. And it showed like Sonic the Hedgehog. He was just like, oh, hedgehog. Or it showed Mario trying to bust a brick and he smashes his hand into a million pieces. Solid Snake or Silent, whatever his name is, so from the Metal Gear Solid series or whatever, is in the box and they just shoot the box or whatever, bleeding everywhere. And then it has the cosplayer as Lara Croft like running around and the breasts are flying up and down. And then she's like, God, I wish I'd never gotten these breast implants before I went on this adventure.
Logical but good comedic joke for that.
That was so goddamn funny. What is something what was your like first big exposure to like you were like that made you realize that, you know, this entire kind of culture, as we like to call it, was something that you always wanted to be part of? Was there like a reporter or something that you saw that was like, I could do that?
Not exactly, because I was like, well, in being a host, that kind of came about not like as directly at all. It was more at Anime Expo, and I think I had seen a casting to do hosting for AX Live, and that was a news show that led up to Anime Expo, talking about upcoming anything anime related community, and then once it got closer to the convention, announcing stuff for the convention. So I did that back in like 2012, and that was super fun. Love that. I was in LA and drove all the way down to Anaheim, which for people who don't live in LA area, it was like, it could be about an hour drive, but generally with traffic and what time of day we had to go, it could be almost a 3-hour drive. So you generally had to leave early to make sure you could get down there. And then it wasn't as bad to head back, but that was super fun. And then for another thing, I had a friend, Kanika, who she was hosting a Bollywood news review show, and I had seen a particular movie she was going to talk about, and she was like, do you want to come on a show? And I was like, yeah. And so then that kind of was the first thing, and then that just exploded from there. And I would say also I had already had a knack of wanting to be like the tour guide person, like in videos or pictures, make it feel like you're there. So I feel that's kind of a really easy transition into hosting, because you're kind of making your viewer, your listener, your reader, whatever, feel like they are there. Make them feel like they're part of that experience rather than like an outsider looking in. The end.
It is my favorite anime ever.
It's fun, violent, and of that time period of a very specific style of art that isn't necessarily my favorite, but I like that it is very visually specific. And it's Vampire Hunter D. Oh, I'm of course now blanking on everything, but there was a bunch of them that kind of came out around that time period. Samurai, there was some samurai one. Ninja Warrior,
Ninja
Ninja
Scroll.
Gaiden. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, by Madhouse Studios, which is still cranking out great anime today. Madhouse was
Violent.
Madhouse was like the anime that your parents would not want you to watch when you were like 12, 13 years old. I mean, I had never in my life before. I think, and this is like, this really like affects people and can like be like, well, that's your warped perception of how like things should be, and that's not right. And, or you're basing it on what you saw in this, and that's not how, relationships or something like that should be. But, I want to say it was Ninja Scroll was my first exposure to like anything to do with like major sexuality outside of like glimpsing my father's Playboy. And I was just like blown the F away. Like I probably had seen a horror movie, but it'd probably been very tame in the sexuality department. And then I watched that and I was just like, what is going on? I've never seen cartoon, depictions of sexuality before.
There are definitely corners and big areas of anime that deal with that.
Yeah.
I'd say corners for the more specific interests of anybody, but yeah, it's definitely a whole medium in and of itself.
Yeah, but Vampire Hunter D has always stuck with me, and I constantly meet people who've like never seen it. I'm just like, whatever you do, go find a copy and watch it. It's so good.
So thing on the eyeball in his hand at one point.
He's got a hand and he's got a face in his hand.
There we go.
Yeah, it's called Hand, I think. Yeah. It's like there's 25 novels in the series, which, god damn it, somebody in Japan, you have only ever made 2 movies. There are 25 novels. Make another movie. I do not understand the apprehension about why there have not been like a string of Vampire Hunter D movies been made. But the second one, Bloodlust, which is based on the 3rd novel, Ed Asner voiced Hand.
Ooh, yeah. I can't off the top of my head remember if I've seen the second one, but I know I've seen the first one. It definitely sticks with me as a visual. But yeah, maybe it's something with copyright that they can't make or haven't made more.
Get over that. Just get it done.
Something. Or it's, distribution, like who owns it, because that is a really fascinating aspect of anime in terms of who makes it, who distributes it, and then like just licensing of that can be really detailed and tangled.
Right, definitely.
One animation house or one distribution company they'll have it, and then maybe years later a different one gets to own it, and you're just like, wait, who has it now, and where can I access it?
What do you got coming up in 2021 before we let you go?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Still doing the Sword Art Online. We'll have episodes through the beginning of February. And then I don't know what after, because I've had some people suggest, like, are there other shows? But I haven't gone that far. If other people want to, please message me. Let me know what other stuff we cover. Sword Art Online has just worked really well because I've met most of the cast and the voice director like over the years, so it was a lot easier to approach them and get them involved versus any other show where I'm like, maybe I know them and can be like, hey, can we do this? But yeah, haven't really thought that far. Also have been, before we kind of talked about horror, but the horror working with the Scare Guy, they also have a podcast show, and I've done hosting with them as well. So we'll see what comes ahead for 2021.
Cool.
The last one we just did was it's a really cool kind of surreal Indian horror movie called Kali Kuhi, and that's on Netflix. And did a podcast with the writer-director Terry Smudra and with the Scare Guy, so that was cool. And I don't know of anything just yet. I think you would just have to follow me and see what's coming up, because it's one of those you want to plan ahead, but you really need to be flexible nowadays, or in general, rather.
Did you see the most controversial movie at the end of 2020, Wonder Woman 84?
I did.
Yeah.
My opinion would be I enjoyed it, but I understand and agree with all of the complaints I've seen about it.
Wow. That's like the best way to say that. You could still easily get your head bitten off by a praying mantis who wants to lay her eggs down the stump of your neck.
No, because it's one of those, I enjoyed it. You can't discredit my enjoyment of it because I definitely acknowledge and understand all the complaints about it.
But the problem is you have to be you have to like it. Otherwise, you hate everything, or you're, it's then it becomes like gender politics crap because.
In general, I have found when people hate a movie, say it's trash, whatever descriptive words you want to use for it, I'm like, you really haven't seen some bad movies then, because I'm like, can you see the picture? Can you hear them? I have seen some bad quality ones where you're like, this is just painful to watch. Now, is it everybody's cup of tea? No, and that's fine. And it's like, whatever. It's art. It's, film. You are allowed to like it or dislike it, and you shouldn't tell anybody that, oh, you like it or you don't like it, like something's wrong about that, or you're not a true fan, or you're not a this, that, or whatever, because you like it or don't like it. It's like, it's an opinion. Calm down. Now, if you want to make a point about, okay, the movie does this, and this could be inferred as that, that's fine. Then you're making a point about, like, okay, so the movie has, be like, whatever, okay, you want to talk about representation. What examples does the movie do? And then what does it do? Does do. Bleh. And then you would list it, and then you explain it, and then that'd be more like your debate. Like, that's a thing right now I've seen with Soul, and people, they've made a point, and generally the better articles, and this would be a tip for all writer people out there, better articles for me as a reader were people who really are already kind of saying what everybody else is saying, maybe, but then they have extra to it. They have another point to it, or they have a more well-rounded approach, the interesting read.
The way you said it is absolutely perfect. I mean, I almost said the exact same way to someone who was like, it's my second viewing of it. I was like, I just watched it. I like it, but boy, is there some serious problems with that movie that you can't ignore. And I got ripped into, like, well, read the room. Everyone else here likes it. No one has a problem with it. I'm like, then you are as blind as a bat. If you cannot, I think this is like an intelligent person's post. You know what I mean? This is someone who, like, when they make comments or they post things, I'm like, she makes a good point about something. But good God, they lost their frippin' mind. Because I was like, if you can't see the problems in this movie, for one thing, where's Wonder Woman? Oh, right. Okay.
That one, though, you could make the argument. I had someone post about it's more about Diana and less about Wonder Woman. I'm like, that's fine.
I'm totally fine with that. I whatever. Gal Gadot is Diana, Wonder Woman. I love her, but for God's sakes, put her more in her own movie. Because all I got mostly was like Maxwell Lord and a crying kid.
But it's it's how it's advertised. The trailer for that movie was so much action, and is that what the movie is? Not really. So it's one of those how a movie is marketed can really hurt it, because if you're expecting, one thing and that's not what it is, then you'll just be disappointed.
Right, definitely. Where can people find you on social media, Kari?
Yes, you can find me online at Kari D Lane. That's KARIDLANE.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show.